Hello everybody. Today we're going to be working on drawing hands. If you're in my class with Lyceum, we started a little bit of a preview in our last Together class. But today we're going to expand on that and really focus on the basic shapes that are found in the hand, a little bit of foreshortening, really getting into this because I think everybody is intimidated, right? So what's the first thing we do if we're drawing a person and we have to draw hands? All of a sudden their hand needs to be in their pocket, or it's behind their back, or if they have really long sleeves, right? We all have these little hitches in when we're drawing people to avoid these crazy multi-appendaged objects. All right, so some of the things we're gonna need today is a basic piece of paper. Don't worry if it's not drawing paper, that's okay. You can just use printer paper. You can use the back of a worksheet that is already completed. Your mom may have some junk mail that you can use. Like as a kid, that's what I did if I ran out of paper. You get creative, and we're in troubling times now. So we're gonna make do with what we have. So I have some paper. I have just a basic pencil. So if you guys remember in our classes, there's different softnesses and hardnesses of pencils. So these regular yellow pencils are generally either 2B or HB. So a number 2 is usually, see that number 2 right there? That's usually means, see it actually says on here, HB. So it's a softer pencil, but it could also be a 2B, which is an even softer pencil, which is generally how I start my drawings anyway, using like a soft but not a too soft of a pencil. All right, the other thing that I would like you to have today is a washable marker. So you see washable marker. We don't want to use a permanent marker because if it's okay with your mom, everybody pause the video, go ask your mom if it's okay to write on your hand with a washable marker. Okay, so pause the video and go do that. Now that you guys are all back, let's get started. Oh, the other thing is if you have a better eraser than the end of your pencil, that's great. If not, the end of your pencil eraser will work just as well. I do typically like to use a kneaded eraser or even just a white eraser from the art supply store, from Amazon, or wherever you get your art supplies. But if not, again, just use the tip of your eraser. That's okay too. All right. And maybe some extra pencils like I have on the side here as well. All right, so hands, bum, bum, bum. I feel like that's what we all think when we're about to draw them. Hands are not as scary as what you might think, because the way we're gonna approach it today is by simply breaking it up into shapes. So, the biggest part of your hand, I'm grabbing my marker, is the palm of your hand. If we start, see, I'm going to start my drawing now. So watch me, and then you can do the same thing on your hand as well, if it's okay with your mom. If not, you'll get the same idea just watching me do it as well. Is if we follow the edges of my palm, avoiding my thumb, we get what shape? It's got 4 sides. They are not equal. It's kind of a rectangle, but not quite a rectangle because not all the sides are parallel, right? It's called a trapezoid. So every palm has got this trapezoid. So if you see, it gets smaller here towards my wrist. It gets bigger towards my palm, towards my fingers rather. All right, the other shape that is created with your hand is your fingers. So do we usually hold our fingers like this? Or are we walking around like joom, 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 joom? The only time we're holding our hands like this is when we're actually holding something, right? And then do you really see your hands? No, because there's something sitting on top of it, right? So I've got my coffee cup. Ooh, look at that, balancing on the palm of my hand. All right, so we don't normally see people like this or like this, right? So when we see that in drawings, it looks very awkward. I'm gonna take my ring off here because that's in the way. All right, so it looks really awkward and unnatural because that's just not how we walk around, right? So unless we're like karate chop, okay. So if you're drawing anime and you're karate chopping people, then maybe your hands are like that. But normally, again, not. We're relaxed, right? Our hands are just feeling good. All right, so if our hands are just relaxed, you'll notice that our fingers, they're not straight. They splay out to the sides, right? So again, we've got this shape that is created so it's narrower at the bottom, more open. So I can't, you'll have to imagine I'm drawing this line across the top of my fingers and coming in. So if we put this onto paper, we've got our trapezoid coming out, narrower at the wrist, and then we've got another trapezoid, but this one's a little bit different. It's got a little bit more of a curve at the top because we're following those pinky, that the curve of our, so this one's shorter, longer, shorter, around. But again, it's wider at the top than it is at the bottom, okay? So this is the basic shape I want you to think of. So if you have ever done gesture drawings or like really quick 1-minute drawings, this is a great way, then you can come in with your thumb too if you want, to get that basic shape out there. Thumb's kind of funky, but you get the basic idea. Kind of looks like a mitten, right? So something that you've had, that we all put on for wintertime. Most people anyway. All right, so basic shapes. And then what we do is we start thinking about the different fingers that are coming off, right? So we're gonna start by breaking these up into even more simple shapes. So if we look at this, it's kind of, even if you look at like the flesh here, it looks kind of round, right? So we're gonna come in and make our circles. So bigger circle on the bottom, smaller circles going all the way up. And we can do that on the other fingers as well. So circles here. Looks like my marker's not very good. Sorry guys, I hope you can see this in the video. There we go, that's better. Just isn't like my skin, I guess. Fancy that, you're not supposed to draw on your skin with markers. Breaking rules this morning, guys. Or today, rather, because you might not be watching this in the morning. All right, so again, bigger circle on the bottom, little bit smaller in the middle, smaller even again on the top. So bigger circle here in the bottom, middle size circle, smaller circle. It's fun drawing on ourselves, isn't it? Again, only do this if it's okay with your mom or your dad. All right, bigger circle on the bottom, middle circle in the middle, kind of smallish circle here for our pinky. All right, looking cool, right? All right, I'm gonna come over here to my thumb and do the same thing. So the cool thing with your thumb is, okay, these are pretty flat, right? I'm gonna make that a little darker so you can see that better. All right, so coming over to the thumb, it's kind of sideways. So to make it flat, we gotta kind of turn our hand, then do the circle because, well, magical thumbs. We're no longer, all right, gotta love evolution. I like gripping things. I appreciate my thumb. Okay, so again, finding those circles. Now, what's in between the circles, right? We got these little joints here. So we're not gonna draw those joints, but I want you guys to always remember, we've talked about this in my class a lot, what part of our bodies never bends? Our bones, right? So we'll talk about this when we flip the hand over because you'll be able to see things a little bit more clearly. But there's always that underlying structure of bones of our skeleton underneath here. So there's a bone here, there's a bone here, there's a bone here. Same thing on every finger. And then we got these awesome bits of connective tissue in between there, making it possible for our joints to bend. And then we've got all of these amazing tendons that our brain is saying, pull. If anybody's ever made one of those cardboard hands before, maybe we'll do that together. That might be really cool. Actually, yeah, well, you could probably YouTube that actually. Yeah, these tendons pulling things in. But again, bones always strong, straight, making it so that we can understand what the underlying structure is underneath here. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna actually get back to drawing. And we'll start, I'm gonna start on a fresh sheet of paper, I think. All right, so taking that basic shape of my palm, and the first thing we're gonna draw today, guys, is just a nice relaxed hand. Nothing, we don't wanna be super straight like that. We wanna be just nice and relaxed, okay? So it looks natural, because we're not gonna be drawing unnatural hands unless they're doing like jazz hands, I guess. If you're drawing somebody with jazz hands, then they'd be straight. Straight open like that, but we're drawing a natural hand today. So we're gonna start with that big palm shape, the trapezoid that we talked about earlier. Okay, getting that basic shape in there. Coming down to the wrist, making it smaller. We'll even bring my wrist in a little bit there too. Okay, then I'm gonna come up and bring my other, but curvy trapezoid opposite of my hand shape in there as well, just so I have just this basic kind of shape to build my fingers in. The other thing is as well, if this is really hard for you and you're having a hard time keeping your hand still or holding your paper or whatever may be going on, if you want to work from magazine photos, or even better, you can, if your parents have a phone or a camera, taking a picture of your hand and then drawing from it so that you don't have to continuously hold your hand in the same position. That works as well. We're gonna keep things as fluid and easy as possible. All right, so coming over here, ooh, it looks like I moved my first finger a little bit, but that's okay. So you can see how if it was straight out, it would be more following this line here, but it's kind of curving in a little bit. So I'm gonna come in and bring my first oval in. Then I'm gonna follow, see how it's dipping in a little bit? I'm gonna bring in a smaller oval for my next joint, and then coming up here, bringing in the next one for the tip of my finger. Maybe that's not quite at angled. So the beauty of drawing too is I'm making adjustments as I go. So, all right, so again, coming in here for my middle finger, bringing in that nice oval there for the lower one, then coming in. And you can see, what else are you noticing with my drawing? It's not super hard, so I don't want you pressing super, super hard, because can I erase that? No, not very easily. It's always gonna leave a little bit of a smudge on there. All right, and I'm leaving space for those joints too. All right, so I'm coming on up here, getting this top. So this one needs to be a little bigger. Bringing in that top bit as well. Okay, coming in for my fourth finger. If you notice too, they're not right next to each other. There's that space in between the fingers. All right, so next finger, coming in for my ring finger. So a little closer, a little smaller. Coming in with that second joint. So again, this one's a little bit more angled this way. And then top. Then we'll come in for the pinky. All right, so as you can see, I've got a lot of space here, so I'm gonna come in a little bit from the outside edge. Making those adjustments as we go. All right, I'm gonna still angling out. All right, perfect, guys. All right. Now the next thing is my big old thumb here, right? So what kind of a shape does this make right here? Three sides. A triangle. All right, so I'm going to come in with my triangle for my thumb. Okay, because the cool thing is this is all one big muscle in here. So you can actually see there's a little crease that comes down. All of that is connected. Just really super light though, again. All right, so we're going to follow that line up, making our circles. Okay, because there's a joint here, and one here. The cool thing is you can see a little bit of my nail there too. So I'm going to bring that in just for fun. You don't have to do that. All right, so we got the basics of our hand. Now we're going to come back up, and so you can see things are moving around a little bit. We're going to just go with the flow. All right, so, and because we can always make adjustments since we're using pencil. All right, so now we're going to come in and start to bring those outside edges in. And again, I am working around my current drawing. Coming up, taking that round tip through. And if you're drawing at home, your hand might look a little bit, obviously it's going to be different because it's your hand, right? All right, and then I'm going to come over here to my middle finger, same thing, working my way up, because these are actually, beyond the circles, they're like big cylinders, right? Okay, coming through, doing my middle finger now. And then my ring finger. And my little pinky. Yay, we're there. All right, guys. So now the next step is to come in, that's where the erasers come in handy. So I'm gonna come in and get rid of a lot of that beginning, maybe not all of it, because I kind of like the shading that it's creating within the palm. So I'm gonna come in and just erase some of those circles, trying to avoid a lot of those creases for my hand that I've created. And what we're left with is a pretty in proportion hand. Now, some of my students in my classes, I'm always on you guys. What am I on you guys about? I should have mentioned this earlier. Drawing small. So right now, if your hand is this big, pause the recording, rewind it, and start again, filling up a whole page with your hand. Because your hand is probably, oh my gosh, look how awesome I am, guys. It's almost perfectly in proportion with my hand, okay? So that's what I want you guys to do. See, my pinky's maybe a little long. We'll make that adjustment. But that's what I mean. It's so much easier to draw something as complicated as a hand when it's nice and big, because you can see it. If it's super tiny and you're in here trying to draw the hand with all the little fingers, it gets complicated. If you can see it big, all of a sudden, it makes a lot more sense when you're drawing it. All right, so like I said, I was gonna make that adjustment with my pinky because it is significantly smaller than the ring finger, as we just saw. All right, so coming in, making that adjustment. See, even teachers adjust as we draw as well. All right, so I'm gonna come in here, do a little bit more erasing. So now you can see kind of where the creases are. In my hands, I might come in. See, there's little tiny ovals here as well. You could bring some of that in there, but super light. You don't want it to look like old man hands, right? Because you're young and don't have all the creases that we older people do. All right, so next thing, this nice fleshy part needs to be made to look a little bit rounder. So I'm gonna come into my drawing and do, so you can see it all the way around there. This nice line that your palm creates. All right, I'm gonna come in here with a little bit of, come in with the lifeline. You can look that stuff up later too, guys, if you want to. It's kind of fun. Palm reading. If that's okay with your parents, of course. So I'm just gonna come in. You can see I've got like a nice shadow coming along here. So I'm just gonna come in and maybe do a little bit of shadow in there. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. A little bit of shadow there, make it a little bit rounder. And all of a sudden, this drawing is starting to take shape, and your drawing is starting to shape. I can't wait to see what you guys are doing. Hopefully you'll post some pictures in the comments of our Google Classroom. All right. Bring a little, get my wrist wrinkles. See, again, your hand is going to be different than mine. So yours won't be as like creased and aged like mine is. Not that I'm like super old or anything, but you definitely, from hard work and being outside, everybody's hand looks different. All right, so there is part one of drawing the underside of your hand. Now let's move to part two. Well, actually, we'll do one more thing with the underside. So the other thing with the underside is sometimes our hand curls in, correct? So what happens, so we talked about that opposite, so the trapezoid opening out for fingers normally. When you draw your hands in, they go the opposite. So they fold inward. So the trapezoid starts to come in. So we're gonna do, actually, no, I'm gonna trim this out and we are gonna move to the back of the hand next, and then we'll focus on bending the, how to draw the fingers when they're bent. All right, so next step, working on the back of the hand. All right, I'm gonna flip my paper. And we're gonna come back to our fun marker friend. So everybody grab your marker. We talked about this a little bit when we were talking about the underside, the palm of the hand. See my fun drawing still. All right, so with the back of the hand, we get a much clearer understanding of what's happening structurally underneath the hand. So we're gonna come back in and draw that shape just so that we have it. Our nice little trapezoid we talked about on the other side as well, but I'm gonna bring it in here just so we have a reference point. And then we have our triangle of our thumb, just like on the other side as well. The difference on this side is, though, that we can see, so these are the tendons that you can see right here running on top of our bones. But we're gonna follow those because our bones are right under there as well. So if we follow this bone, what we're gonna do next, again, if it's okay with your mom, taking your marker, we're gonna follow our bones back into our wrist. So we've got these long bones here. I'm totally blanking on the name, but this isn't science class. So everybody look that up when you get done with your art class. Another part of this. Drawing all of, there we go. So we've got all of our bones coming in here from at the top of our hand, and it's all in here too. All right, and then we're gonna come in and put our next bone in here because there's two here in the thumb. Then we've got our first one for our fish finger, another little bone here. Remember, there's that joint there, and then we come up into the tip. So again, here, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more time, all the way over here. All right. A little bit darker so you can see. I'm going to come back in and put that trapezoid back in a little darker. All right, and our triangle. All right, so I think everybody should be able to see that. So there are all of the bones in our hand. So again, what did we note? What are we noticing here? With that trapezoid, it gets smaller as we come down, right, towards our wrist. So the same thing with our bones. They're not, I think part of the mistake that we make in drawing hands, oh, my hand's getting tired just holding it up, is we tend to think that everything runs in these straight lines. So if we did that, this would be underneath the palm. We'd have a rectangle, right? But that's not the shape that we have. And then we'd have to run those fingers right up the top here. And again, running straight. So we don't get that natural splay that's created. And then the thumb here, most cases, is just kind of off to the side like that. The thumb is probably the most, everybody kind of gets the thumb direction, right? But this doesn't look like, even if we bring in, you know, the fingers, it doesn't look like, it looks more like a bare hand, like with claws, or like Wolverine, although Wolverine's claws even splay out like natural fingers as well. All right, so we want our hands to be anatomically correct. So we want to see that splaying out from the wrist to the fingertips, from the base of the fingertips to our fingers to the tips of the fingers. We want that natural splay. All right, I'm gonna rest my hands because it's tired from holding things up to draw it. All right, I am gonna flip my page again. All right, so let's get started drawing the top of the hand. We're gonna really focus, because once we get up into the fingertips and going beyond this, it's the same circle once we get past drawing the bones, okay? So again, drawing, I always start with my trapezoid. Okay, I'm gonna bring my triangle out from my thumb and then just follow it up. It's just like drawing a stick figure, right? You can even come in and bring those circle joints in if you want to. All right, so I'm gonna look at where my line here, and I'm gonna create that shape over here. Now again, if you're doing this at home with me, maybe your hand is a little bit different position than mine, and that's okay. Maybe a different viewpoint. Look, use your eyes and follow what your eyes are telling you, not what you're seeing in front of me. Okay, so I'm gonna come on up, bringing that in. Oh, you know what we forgot? We forgot our shape up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Remembering my pinky is so much shorter. All right, now coming up for my middle finger. Little circle for my joint. All right. Ooh. That needs to be longer. That'd be a really small middle joint there. Coming up for my middle finger. All right. 2 more. Me and my pinky. All right. right, so there. We've got our main structure. Oh, I gotta come in here with this guy. Okay, where's my wrist? I'm gonna come in and put my wrist so you can see my little wrist bone coming out there. Readjust my angle. All right, so we've got the basic structure of our hand. We're gonna come in just like on the other side. I'm gonna do this quickly because we've kind of seen this done already. Again, rounded tips, thinking of your hand as having these big cylinders, just connecting the dots here basically. So you can see what the difference on the other side too is, because I have you can see it here. You can see I have so much flesh and softness over here, so it creates more of a hard line. This side, it looks more like just little, kind of little valleys in between each hand. Okay, coming and connecting. So this is bigger, wider, a little bit more ovally. Coming up, building those cylinders on top of each other to create the fingers. All right, I'm gonna pause here because we have done a lot of this on the other side, so I'm not gonna do these other two fingers because I don't want our video to be like ancient, super long. So you can see that I have short nails. If you have longer nails, it's gonna look a little bit different on your hand. So I'm gonna come in and do some of that erasing just like we did on the other side on these two fingers. It's a little bit dark. Again, I don't want to look like I have old man hands. Not that there's anything wrong with old man hands, but I don't have them. So, all right, and I'm going to come in and bring my nails in here. So nails generally have a curve on the bottom. I have little tiny nails, and they're straight on the other side. Okay, so we come almost, so you can see I even have soft fleshy stuff on the top. There's a little bit of a line, so I come in just a little bit and create those nails. Okay, and then for the thumb, here, I'll put the thumb in here too. So thumb comes up about this high. We'll talk about this on the other in the second too, about one side is usually fleshy, the other side is pretty straight. All right, so bringing in my little joint there, and then we'll come up, and again, the thumb is never flat when the fingers are flat. See how it's a little bit rotated, tipped off to the side. So we're gonna come in and you're gonna see more, you'll see more on your hand too, more flesh beside, more at the side of your finger more. So again, I have those short nails. You can really see that with that, and those nails come all the way to the side. Okay, so bringing those nails in, making sure there's a curve at the top, a curve, see, following with my nail, my thumbnail here, following the curve and the roundness of this side of the finger as well. All right, so let's come in and do some erasing with some of those darker lines, because again, we don't want to have those old man hands. If you've gone ahead and done the other fingers, feel free to come in again with those little bit of wrinkles in there just to make things look a little bit more three-dimensional. Again, follow those curves around. There's not a lot of straight lines when you're working with the human body. Okay, next step with hands. Flipping the page. Oh, I guess we need 10 switches. All right. Working with your hands as with fingers bent. So the reason I did bottom and then top is so that we could look at and always have these little checkpoints as we're working. All right, so I'm gonna really angle my hand in like this. So we can see that I have, the difficult part of fingers bent is making sure that we've got that foreshortening in here. So even though I know these little fingers here are much smaller than my index finger, when we're drawing them, we make, like this finger here is the closest to me, to my eyes. So it needs to be bigger than this guy back here so that we understand that it is closer, okay? So I'm gonna try to hold my hand like this. I'm gonna give it a little bit of support on the rings there. And we're gonna work in the exact same way that we did when they were flat, but more now with some extra movement in there as well, some extra three-dimensionality. All right, so coming in here, creating our trapezoid. So what you're gonna see, because it's no longer flat, is that our trapezoid has some curve in it, and that's okay. We're gonna come in and we're gonna draw the line that we have there. So bringing that curve down, you can see it, even I can see it, I don't know if you can see it in the video, I can see it underneath my pinky finger here. Then coming down, so bringing in that trapezoid. Then I'm gonna come and do my triangle over here for my thumb. Again, how big am I drawing? Am I drawing this big? I'm drawing nice and big, filling out my paper so I can see what's happening. Then I'm gonna come in and draw my wrist. So I've got that reference point as well. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna create the shape that my fingers are making. So coming up with my first finger, then I'm gonna wrap it, create this curve here. So this is where my pinky finger will end up, down here, right? Which looks weird, does not look like that's gonna work right. But this gives me kind of a reference to draw everything out. All right, so I'm gonna do that same thing that we did earlier, creating those little ovals, bigger on the bottom, smaller in the middle, even smaller in the top. Coming over to my next finger, big on the bottom, and so, oh, we've got that little bit of a bend really coming in. So paying attention to that shape, and then the finger here at the top. So this is what's happening because we're starting to get into those bends, is it's no longer a simple oval, right? So we're really paying attention to that shape that's being created. So I'm gonna adjust my curve a little bit because I'm seeing that it needs to be adjusted. So I'm not, there we go. All right, and then I'm gonna come down to my ring finger. Okay, it looks closer over there. Creating that larger oval. And then, okay, so this is where it starts to get really interesting. This shape is no longer really an oval, right? Because the top one is coming in. So I've got a different shaped oval here because the finger is bent. And then this is like overlapped. All right, then we come into our pinky finger. Okay, so we have that. So see, I have miscalculated. So I'm gonna bring my pinky finger. So it's cool because everything is so soft and round on the bottom side. You get this like almost perfect circle for the tip of your pinky. Then it follows. I want to adjust that. Nope, that's right. we're gonna follow the top of the finger down. Okay, so we've got the next joint that comes off, and then it overlaps right here. There we go. See, sometimes when you're doing these drawings, you have to pause. Like you saw me pause there, I'm like, ugh, how does that work? There we go. Okay. And then we got everything coming down on this side. I think it needs to come out a little bit. We'll see. We'll see when we get drawing here. All right. So just like, oh, let's get that thumb in there. Coming up. Tip. And that thumbnail in there. Okay, so filling in those outside edges just like we did on the other side, the other drawing that we did. Gonna keep being mindful of where the joints are, following those lines. So I'll come back in here in a minute and do that erasing just like we did on the other side. Coming in. Finding those joints, taking and connecting the work that we've done already with the ovals. So we're getting into that bend here. So I'm going to go ahead, and this joint here is really important to figure out what's happening with my finger here. I'm going to make some adjustments to my original drawing because everything is kind of in line here. Erase that so we get a better understanding of what's happening. You can see that joint coming through. Okay, and then we're going to come down to the pinky, the really difficult. So we've got that nail kind of showing here. Length coming out there. So we understand that the joint is right there. And it kind of sweeps around. Always paying attention to those curves and those lines. We're always watching and drawing what's in front of us versus what our brain thinks should be there. All right, I'm going to adjust this bottom line a little bit. So joint here and joint right here as well. Rid of some of that roundness and making it so you can see the nail too. So there's a lot of drawing in there, so I'm going to go ahead and that's not right. So again, I'm going to come back in with my circle again as a reference. All right, there's the nail. My hand may be moving a little bit too. All right, so we're going to come back over here. We'll work on that pinky some more because see what I mean, guys? Hands are hard. But the key thing is always being willing to come back into it, find those basic shapes, and work your way around. You can see how successful we were with this hand. It's really starting to bend and come towards us. I'm going to come in and bring some more of the joint in the side of the finger. because that's part of what makes it key too with this, is being able to understand that some of the sides of the hands, here's some shadow over here, a little bit more joint showing. So ignoring this terrible pinky finger, we're going to talk about the straight lines of, so where you can see more of the bone, one side of the finger is always straighter and one side is always rounder. So especially with this thumb right here. So you can see the straightness is here on the left hand side, and the roundness is that squishy part on the palm of the hand. So that's where we bring that roundness in, that softness in of your hand. So this needs to come up a little bit more. I'm gonna come in with some of those crease marks, but again, starting off light and then working our way up. You know what, I'm gonna totally redo this pinky here, and then we're gonna end our class for today, and we will do, some, okay, so I'm gonna come back in, getting that circle, realizing that the end is about here. That was the issue. All right, so sorry about that. My hand may not be perfect anymore because had a phone call. Anyway, we're gonna get back to what we were doing. Oh, let's just start again. All right, so we have gotten, this looks a little bit better than what we had before. I'm gonna come in and, because it's not quite that wide there. That looks a lot better. All right, so always just kind of playing with it, finding the shapes that are there, following the curve of the lines that your hand is presenting you with. That's the key. I keep repeating myself over and over again, but with these, when you're drawing from life, your brain thinks it knows everything. It doesn't. Your eyes are what is important. Your eyes telling your brain what it's seeing. So I'm going to come in and get rid of those lines. I'm going to come in and dampen out some of my beginning work here as well. And what we're left with is a pretty, I'll come in with decent rendition of your hand. Again, I'm so excited to see how you guys are doing. I hope this was helpful for you today and that you learned a little bit about drawing hands. We'll do a little bit more work. I'm going to come in and get rid of this because that's flattening things out. Yeah, I can't wait to see what you guys are doing at home. So be sure to post in the comments, share some of the drawings that you've created, and we will hopefully see each other soon. If not, you can see I'm just coming in and bringing in a little bit of shadow here as well, just to kind of enhance things. We will see each other again soon. We'll talk online, and class will be in session again. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. So the key with all of this, guys, is practice, practice, practice. Looking at magazine pictures of your hands, practicing with your own hands, and again, really drawing what's in front of you versus what your brain is telling you is in front of you, and remembering those basic shapes. All right, show me what you guys have been up to. Make lots of drawings at home. Have fun. Be creative, and remember to wash your hands as always. before, and you'll know now if you're scratching your face because this marker is going to come off on your face. But yeah, I will see you guys again soon. Have a good day.